If it wasn't for her, I couldn't make these videos for you because she puts up with.
Oh, that's true.
Right? And my cackling. Sorry about the cackling. Can't help it. It's natural, I guess. Anyway, so number one, when did I meet Eddie Van Halen and where?
Smithsonian.
What was the date?
2022.
The same year we saw Van Halen for the last time. What year was it?
2015.
All right. All right. It was 2/12.
Oh, that was the twos part.
2/12/2015. So what did I do while I was at the Smithsonian?
You sent me the picture of you and Eddie.
And I said,
I finally met him.
how about that? 30 years. Something like that. Yeah. Finally met him. Yeah. It was pretty cool to meet him. And he was super cool. Tell him about our Michael Anthony experience with Damon. Damon was the second guest on Van Halen's tour. He's a good friend of ours from way back. I grew up in the same scene with Damon. And Damon, of course, played with Alice Cooper and toured with Van Halen at one point, so he knew Michael. And we walked around the corner at NAMM. It was like a corner booth. We were fixing to walk out the door, out of the hall. And there's Michael Anthony and Damon together. This was an opportunity where we could be introduced to Michael. And Kevin Dugan was there, Michael's tech.
He took the picture, I think.
He did take the picture of us with Mike and Damon. And I put it up later with like the photo from Women and Children First. Like it was like a lineup of foursome with Michael Anthony at the end, like that shot on the album cover. I thought it was so cool. But Mike was super cool. And I was giving Mike some stuff, and I had told him it was from a previous manager. And Michael looked at me in horror, like, oh my God, what kind of stuff did the manager give you? The manager was Noel Monk. Noel Monk was with him in the early days, so of course, Michael had no idea what I had for him, and he was like flipping out. But Damon knew what I had, and Damon said, it's all good. It's cool. It's good stuff. And so I had these collectibles that I wanted to give Mike that were kind of rare. So anyway, Michael was super cool and super gracious, and we took a photo with him. He's always an awesome guy.
Yep.
He's always an awesome guy. And Eddie was like that too. I think that, I hate that they didn't have a good relationship over the last parts of their career. But I could see how they could totally get along. We're going to tell you our Wolfgang Van Halen story of meeting Wolfgang Van Halen. Wolfgang was on tour with Mark Tremonti on Mark Tremonti's first solo tour. If you know that story a little bit, Wolfgang kind of got just pulled into it last minute and then ended up on the road with him. And they ended up in Birmingham, Alabama, where I grew up and Darla grew up. And so we went down to the show at a place called Zydeco. They played in this little room, and it was loud as hell. And we got up close, though. We got to see Wolfgang 10 feet away.
We weren't even 10 feet.
We were right there. And it was awesome.
Sounded like we were on the stage.
I mean, you got to remember that.
Oh, we were almost on the stage.
You got to remember that he already toured with Van Halen by 2010, so he had already done the 4 shows. We saw him on 4 shows in 2007, 2008 with Wolfgang. At this point, Wolfgang is only 20 years old. Yeah, but he went out at 17 with Van Halen to tour these big venues. And then he flipped around and he's doing these little 200-seat, not even seats, 200...
Standing room,
200 capacity, 200 rooms with Mark Tremonti, which is really cool to go. I love to go to small shows. And so he rocked out and they got finished. And tell him what happened. How we meet Wolfgang Van Halen.
They said that if you wanted to meet the band, if you'd buy some merch, then you could get in line and meet them. So
we got in line, and I had my guitar with me. I thought maybe I'd meet Wolfie and I'd be able to get this guitar signed, which is, if anybody knows me, they know I have this guitar. It has the Fair Warning cover on it. It's a Wolfgang guitar. It's a special, and it has the Fair Warning cover airbrushed. And I got it years ago. And so I brought it, because I knew Wolfgang loved that album too. So the room kind of cleared, and there wasn't a lot of people left. And I thought, should I go get the guitar? I don't think we even discussed it. I was afraid I wasn't going to be able to meet him. Like, I'd be locked outside. She'd meet him, and then I'd have my guitar in my hand, but sorry, they already left. So I was kind of like, crap, you know. Can't get the guitar. It's just right out the door, but so I didn't get it signed. So anyway, but when we get to them, you know, we meet everybody in the band, and they're all cool. And then we get to Wolfgang, and Darla, Wolfgang's birthday is on her birthday, 3/16. I would say every time she meets him, she mentions this, but she's only met him once. But we'll get into that story. Tell him what you did.
I took out my driver's license and showed him that we had the same birthday, and he thought that was pretty cool, so he showed it to Mark.
That's right. He kept showing him. He was 20, so he was like really excited about these meet and greets, I think. You know, in Van Halen, he didn't do any. Well, did they? They didn't really do. They did those VIPs where you could watch the show, but they didn't do, meet and greets. Probably the first meet and greets he's ever really done, like, in stores in some of the cases, but this was after the show. And he was really excited. So every time you'd show him something, he'd be like really excited. And
I think you showed him pictures of...
I showed him pictures of the guitar. I showed him the guitar. I didn't say, it's outside in the car, I need to go get it.
You should have.
Yeah. So she shows him the license, and he's showing Mark her license. Mark Tremonti, laughing, and I'm laughing. I get to him, and I show him the guitar, and he's like all excited about that. And he shows Mark that, right? He shows him the guitar, too. So they did see the guitar. Of course, we all know this, and he said this in Chris Gill's latest article, that we're all fans, including him, of his father. His father was alive at the time, so he just loved his dad and loved his dad's music. And so, yeah, he was excited. And then I met Mark, and Mark was super cool. So anyway, one more story. The story goes, the second part of the Van Halen, Wolfgang Van Halen story, is that we go to the concert 9/17/2015. It's a final Van Halen concert. It's outside for the very first time in Birmingham. My entire life, I'd seen Van Halen in the big BJCC Coliseum, which is an indoor arena. And, of course, I never heard them outside. And this is an awesome time and opportunity to see them in the fall. The weather was perfect. The sound was incredible. The guitar sounded insane. Wolfie was awesome. The band was awesome. The show was awesome. And at the end, Darla had brought a sign to get something from Wolfgang because we never gotten any pics or anything from him. So she wanted to get some pics from Wolfgang. And so she had a sign. It was on a big, giant yellow sign.
Poster board.
It was a big old neon sign.
We got to get neon to get noticed.
So the song is the end of the Jump, and she was running down the thing, and I'm filming this with my phone. And she kind of disappears into the crowd. We're about 17 rows back or so, somewhere in there. And she goes down.
I didn't get to the front row.
She was like
4 up.
Yeah. So
they wouldn't let me go any further.
So then you had the band was doing their bows on the bow, and you can kind of see her sign, and it says, "Throw me pics." And Wolfgang sees her sign, and he tries to throw her a pic, and it just goes somewhere. Not to her. But then at the last second, as he's running off stage, he grabs his armband off, and he throws it out. And then it goes over your head.
Right next to me, and this guy grabbed it, and I said, "Hey, that's mine." He threw it to me. And he gave it to me, which was nice.
Yeah, that was nice. So we still have the armband of Wolfgang Van Halen from the very last Van Halen show that we ever saw. And we have a pic and that I got on eBay afterwards. Funny enough, because she didn't get the pic, I saw a pic online of Wolfgang's, one of these ones with the black with the iridescent Wolfgang signature, which I thought was really cool. And it said, "From the show, 9/17/2015 Birmingham show." This pic was thrown out to me by Wolfgang Van Halen at the Birmingham show, and he was selling it. And it was cheap, $10 or $15. And so I bought it. So we do have a pic from the show, even though she didn't catch it. And we do have an armband from the show, which is awesome to still have that. And that's our Van Halen story. All of them. So I hope you enjoy it. And hope you hang around with the videos that are coming out. Subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you soon. Rock on.
Rock on.